Hi and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, hi, welcome. My name is Amy and I'm Tales of a Bookshelf. You can find me over on TikTok as well as here on YouTube. And today I'm going to do my January reading wrap up. I had a very busy January. I travel a lot for work and I was away for about a week this month or last month. So although I read 7 books, some of them were quite short. One was a novella, one was about 250 pages, but I think it was quite a good month, to be fair. It was also the month that I started my classics read, which was great. I started with Frankenstein and I loved it. It was great. I'll go into more depth later, but overall, a pretty good start to the year. Without further ado, let's get to it. Like I said, my first book of the month was actually Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. I made a pact with myself at the beginning of the year, not a resolution, but more of a task to read more classics books. I have read Frankenstein before. I read it at school when I was probably like 14 or 15. Definitely did not understand this book at that point, but it was quite interesting to go and reread it. This was the 1831 version of the text, and I think there were quite some differences between the original one that she wrote, but I enjoyed this book. The only gripe I have with it, and obviously it's the whole point of the book, right? But Victor Frankenstein is just an awful, awful person. I think what's quite frustrating with his character is there is no character arc. There is no character redemption. He is evil, he is irresponsible, he is sociopathic, he is just a lot of things, and he does not correct that in the end. And I know she did that on purpose, but it is quite an interesting read. Overall, I would say that if you haven't read it, go read it. This will always remain a powerful book, not because of the monster or the creature, but because it's about deeply flawed men and the consequences of unchecked ego, ambition, and the refusal to take responsibility for your actions. For my first romantasy of the year, I read We Who Will Die by Stacia. This is the Roman-inspired romantasy with vampires, and I did enjoy myself with this book. There is just a lot going on in this story. There are trials, there are vampires, there are gods, there is magic. There is so many side plots to this book. It just got so unwieldy. And a lot of the questions that I had throughout the book have not been answered. And I know there are more coming out, but there are simple things that I think either were missed out of the plot or I just didn't understand. I think the reason why this has become a popular book is because it is fast-paced and it is bingeable, and it reminds a lot of people of the Vampire Diaries. It is not a life-changing read, but it is a fun, good time. And what more can you want from your books? I did go through this book thinking of Stefan and Damon Salvatore in gladiator uniform throughout. I don't know whether that's plus or minus. I am also carrying on with my bone season journey, and I finished the Mime Order by Samantha Shannon. I am thoroughly enjoying this series. I don't know why I didn't pick it up earlier. This book had me on the edge of my seat for the whole entire time. I was stressed. I was stressed for a lot of this book, and oh my god, it was so good. The plot twists are non-stop, the pacing is relentless, and for a good portion of this book, I did not know what was going on. Every time I thought I had a handle on what was going to happen, Samantha Shannon just literally ripped it from under me. I was not a fan of Paige Mahoney in the first book, but she has completely solidified herself in this one. She truly comes into her own and her power, and her development throughout this book feels completely earned. And finally, the romance in this story is so subtle, but Warden literally has the least pages in this book, and the things he says, I don't know, this book just left me emotionally frazzled, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. And I've already actually finished the songwriting when I filmed this, but highly recommend this series if you haven't started it yet. I then went on to read a duology that has been on my TBR for a very long time, and that is Strange the Dreamer and Muse of Nightmares by Laini. These books came out in 2017, 2018, and Laini Taylor's writing style is just so beautiful. She's so poetic and lyrical, and the characters that she creates in these stories are just so real, they're so human, and the compassion and the trauma that she writes into their storylines is just so powerful. This story feels like a dream when you're reading it. The plot in Strange the Dreamer, the first one, does take its time to grow, but the slower pace really allows you to absorb the world and the characters and prepares you for what is quite a dark story. Book 2 really solidified that sort of sense of guilt and fear and longing, and how the consequences of the choices that we make and other people make ripple out across a whole world. The character arcs in this duology are so phenomenal. Every dark or morally grey action is just so deeply rooted in love. No one in this book is cruel to be cruel. Everyone is trying to protect something or someone. The cost of that protection is so devastating. It is heartbreaking. It is a story about love, trauma, and the impossible weight of living with choices that are made by yourself or other people. Highly, highly recommend this duology. So I have a T. Kingfisher book club over on Fable, and this month's read was What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. This is a little horror novella. It's about 170 pages long. It is part of the Sworn Soldier series. This is the first in that series. And yeah, look, I love T. Kingfisher. I created a book club for her specifically, but her horror novels do seem to lack a bit compared to her fantasy. There's quite a few things that I feel that are missing from this book, and I know it's one in a series, but I just think, yes, her characters are quite developed, but there are parts of the plot that just seem like left in midair. But that being said, I still had a fun time. It's only 170 pages, it's not a huge commitment, and as always, T. Kingfisher's characters just steal the show with her in her books. Every single one of her horror book leaves me unsettled by something, and this one in particular left me unsettled by mushrooms and hairs. Go read it and let me know what you think too. And last but not least was Thorn Season by Kiera Azar. This is the Fairy Leap version I got a couple of months ago. This is a YA romantasy, and yeah, this had a lot of promise. It just was let down by the lack of world building. This really just felt like a lot of sort of Bridgerton style, Love Island, Bachelor-esque episode, and there was nothing to actually say that it was in a fantasy world. I just wanted more backstory, more history, more rules, more stakes. I don't know, I just wanted more from it. I did like the main character Alyssa to a certain extent, however I do think her best friend Tari was probably actually a better main character than she was. I definitely think it was trying to capture the same sort of vibe as maybe like the Crimson Moth, but it just didn't have the same depth of characters to it. I think to make up for that, it had a lot of twists and turns that, although maybe some of them I wasn't expecting, it didn't drive the plot forward. There is also a love triangle, love quartet, I don't know, and I just don't think it added to the storyline once again. It was sort of there for no reason. I don't mind a love triangle, but there has to have a point to it. That being said, as a YA debut, the writing was very solid and I still had a lot of fun. I really did actually like how Alyssa's grief and guilt were sort of portrayed throughout the story, and there were some real emotional parts sort of dotted throughout. Well, yes, it was fun. It does have potential. I just don't think I will be carrying on this series when the second one comes out. So yeah, that was it. That was my January reading wrap up. I know we're already sort of most of the way into February, but I really had a good month and I'm hoping that carries through to the rest of the year. Let me know if you've read any of these books below. Make sure you hit like and subscribe and follow me for more.